turn your dial. Dapper Don's here to make you smile with a co-host shop and riffs so true. We've got the laughs, the rants, the view. What's going on? Oh, what's the word? Indy's the city where we'll be heard. From Monument Circle to Broad Ripple on. What's going on with Dapper Don? So grab your coffee, Hoosiers, and let's get to it. 'Cause we're in the house!
What's going on? It's Dapper Don, and I'm excited to welcome you all back. So, Justice, that lovely blind lady with an unhealthy obsession with scales. We've been at each other's throats about what counts as true justice since we came up with the concept. And I mean, it makes sense. It directly affects all of us and, determines what laws, rules, and cultural norms people follow. That's why I don't think we'll ever come to a real agreement on what justice actually is, but a philosophy lesson is not what you good listeners are here for. You're here for a philosophy lesson wrapped in nerd shit. And that's why me and my co-host, Comic Gaming Nerd, have been hitting the comic books, because characters like the famed vigilante serial killer Dexter, the skull-themed machine gun-toting deliverer of karma, the Punisher, and many more comic book anti-heroes have a unique sense of right and wrong, shaped by a variety of factors. But one thing they all have in common is that unlike their hero counterparts, if you do something to earn their wrath, you're going to feel it, and you most likely won't live long enough to regret it. These characters challenge the more straightforward, easy-to-digest senses of justice that the heroes of their worlds exemplify, and are often used as compelling philosophical foils. For example, you may think Dexter to be a little extreme. After all, his show makes no pretense that he's always in the right. But he's also not always on the wrong end of things either. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what stoked our curiosity. What if these fictional badasses were real? What if they were walking among us now, with the same amount of blood on their hands as in their worlds? How would they be perceived? And would their actions align with our definition of what's right? Sounds like a good thought experiment to me. So let's find out if comic book anti-heroes can truly achieve justice. So, we'll start simple with Dexter Morgan, the forensic blood spatter analyst with a love for causing a few crime scenes himself. By day, he's a respected forensics expert for the Miami Metro Police Department, and by night he, using the strict moral code taught to him by his father, stalks and hunts his fellow serial killers, gruesomely ending them to sate his dark passenger, the name he gave his murderous impulses. Something to note is that while Dexter is a psychopath who lacks empathy for others, witnessing his mother's murder is actually the root of his dark personality. So let's open up the dialogue. How do you think he'd fare in real life?
Well, he has a pretty high IQ. Him being a blood splatter analysis, you have to be pretty damn intelligent to get that gig in the first place. I believe his IQ is somewhere around like the 170 area, if I remember correctly. So I think he would fare pretty well, more than someone like, the Punisher in real life. Because, he's not like out there with like in public. He's not doing this shit in public. He's hiding. He's pretty smart about it. He has a kill room that he sets up for each of his victims. A plastic tarp. I should figure out what else to set up there. But yeah, there's like a lot of plastic in the room, and then he makes sure he like cleans up afterwards very, 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 very well. He dismembers the bodies in a certain way, throws them in like what was it, swamp, if I remember correctly, right? The swamp in the earlier
He was
season,
what?
throwing them the body parts in the swamp.
Oh, yeah. He was thrown in the swamp. He'd take a boat out there and dump bags of them in the swamps.
Yeah, because of the gators that would eat the body parts. So pretty efficient.
I mean, I guess I could say I just can't imagine somebody doing that for so long and not leaving some shred of evidence, right? And then on top of that, there are people
Right.
who I feel like in law enforcement we have gotten to a point where, especially in government operations, where people have such freakish levels of intelligence that somebody would already be on his trail, and it wouldn't be like a Stokes thing. they'd know what he was doing. That's how I feel,
Yeah, I mean, I could see him getting caught a whole lot quicker in real life than, versus his, like, TV counterpart with what we have now technology-wise. I mean, we have surveillance cameras everywhere, basically.
Right.
Um, hell, I think even our phones spy on us sometimes because, I'll be, like, talking about, like, enchiladas one day, and, like, 35 minutes later, I'll get an ad for enchiladas. I'm like, "What?" Just stuff
Right.
like that.
And that's not even considering that, like, you have things that are listening, right? Like, there are certain things you just can't say out in public because you don't know who's listening, certain ways you can't act. I mean, it's just the thing about Dexter too is that with like he in the show he's portrayed like the way his personality is, it puts people off, it sets off that creep alarm. Well, there are a lot of people who, when that creep alarm is set off, they immediately set off to investigating, especially for content, for like YouTubers. Man, I mean, we've had YouTubers expose people as degenerates before, so I can only and they've gotten arrested. So I can only imagine, you know, how he would be caught now. Now, that's not to say, right, that it wouldn't take a while, because if he is good at hiding his crimes, it's not like somebody's going to instantly be on his tail, but I just imagine that eventually somebody's going to wonder, why is it that every serial killer that this guy's on the case of mysteriously dies,
Yeah. I mean, in, like, Resurrection, he's not working anymore as a, blood splatter analysis now. He's doing Uber, and he's,
That's
finding
that's
his
even
victims that
better.
way. Yeah, he's finding his victims that way from, like, things that, people tell him. So he's not, like, going around and, like, doing the blood splatter analyst gig anymore. He's, listening to what the people of New York City tell him,
Yeah.
and then he's, taking them down that way.
The only problem is, depending on the passenger, depending on what they tell him, Uber has a lot of records of who's in what vehicle. Like, so if one of the passengers, for example, confesses to a crime that would catch his attention, and they go missing, and the last place he was seen, according to Uber's records, was in that like he's prime suspect number. It's like and it doesn't matter how smart he is, how much he tries to hide the body. There are people who can make connections alone and still get to him. But I guess my next question would be, who do you think his top 5 targets in our wonderful world would be?
Right now, like,
Mhm.
if okay, I'm gonna get a little bit political.
Dear. Oh, dear.
Well, I mean, it's just based off of, what I've been reading online. Well, if he was still alive, Epstein for sure, no doubt.
Fair enough.
I don't like getting political, but, maybe, possibly Trump. I don't know.
Now I might be in trouble with the goddamn law. Ugh, whatever. You know what? Podcast from jail. That's where the next episode's gonna be. I mean,
I don't
the Epstein
condone
thing
this
I don't
at all.
mind though.
I
I
don't
don't mind
condone
you
this.
mentioning
Yeah.
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 I don't mind you mentioning Epstein though, because we've done season 2 has been riddled with Epstein jokes. So I mean, I'm not really worried about that, but
I mean,
you brought up
it's been discussed a lot in, like, media already, though, like, The Boys, Homelander. Homelander's basically just Trump at this I mean, everything that Homelander
basically.
does, Trump's been doing too, which is kind of yeah,
Right.
I mean
So we've got Epstein, we've got Trump. Any 3 other degenerates that you think? I personally think Diddy's on that list. I think he'd be
oh, yeah,
after
yeah, Diddy
Diddy.
too, yeah. Maybe James Franco
James Franco, huh?
because of the, sexual misconduct stuff that happened,
Yeah, that's yeah, I could see that happening.
and
I
the
could
guy from
definitely
That
see that
70s
happening.
Show, the guy I forgot his name, the guy from That 70s Show that got arrested for the, sleeping with underage girls. I forgot his name.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I imagine those would be on his shit list pretty quickly. But the more compelling question also would be, could he reasonably gain access to those targets? Because because I know he's smart and I know he's got a lot of resources, but even in the show, there are just things that he just can't, like, there are just some things he just can't do, you know? Like, he wouldn't
Well,
be able to just, jump into the office of the president and start cutting
right.
him up. Just.
I mean, in Resurrection season 1, all of his targets are part of a serial killer group. So it's a bunch of serial killers that meet up, and he joins under the
Mhm.
guise of one that he killed earlier on in the season. So he took their identity because the rest of the group didn't know what this guy looked like. So Dexter just took his identity, took his fingerprints and everything, and pretended to be this guy so he can infiltrate this group of serial killers and take them out that way. So I could see him kinda doing something like that, but, then again, the Oval Office does a lot of, background checks.
That's another thing. It's
Yeah.
like the Oval Office is so paranoid about stuff because we've already had people try to kill the president. So it's like, I mean, that's literally one of the most common crimes ever is presidential assassination attempt. So they would be, if he got to that point, it would be to where they would check his background like very thoroughly. And if they saw even like the whole psychopath thing would instantly like, you just no, just unless it's certain positions, no, you know. Just because of the fact that there's no remorse, there's no guilt. So if something happens that he doesn't like, now there's potential for chaos because this guy just has no filter.
But, Hollywood stars, though, I could see him easily taking them out.
He could he could probably find some way into Hollywood.
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
like you mentioned the Uber gig, he could pretend to be a, driver for, actors,
mhm.
musicians. Yeah,
I mean,
easily right there.
yeah, I feel like his best bet would be if he was like in the witness protection program or something, right? If he found a way to sneak his way in there, that way he doesn't even have to go by his actual name, and then he can go about doing what he does under a new identity. But even then, the government's watching you closely, so it probably wouldn't happen. But it's like, I don't know. It's very difficult to say because although there are some targets that would need to be wiped off the map, a lot of those targets have such heavy security that even him at his most charming pretend wise, they look at him like he was crazy for even being there in the first place. So it's a very difficult question to answer on that. But I do have another question because often with serial killers that claim to be vigilantes, we see the escalation from genuinely innocent people to innocents who just happen to inconvenience them. So, I mean, would he be able to stick to his moral code? Or do you think in real life there would eventually be some deviation into like thieves and shit?
Um, like, would he lower his standards to, like, petty criminals, you mean?
Yeah, petty criminals and then eventually innocent people who just happen to piss him off.
I don't think he would target shoplifters. I could see him possibly targeting like I don't know if I guess is drug dealing a petty crime?
I don't know. I feel like because it's a felony, probably not. And when I think of petty crime, I think of like stealing from a store and getting your
Yeah.
picture put up, and you can't go into that store anymore. And it's like something that the police, if they got involved with, would hardly even give a shit about.
Yeah, I don't think he would really give a shit about that in real life. I actually researched, I found like two people who did what he did in real life actually. One of them was a former police officer who targeted criminals and he
Hmm.
killed them and he thought he was doing good because he's just taking out criminals and then there was a Hispanic man, I forgot his name, but he did the same thing as well. He just targeted, criminals as well, other serial killers.
Where wasn't there were two people that he was based off of too.
I think it
That
was those 2.
Yeah, like he that was his inspiration, and I think that they how quickly did they get caught, or did they kind of go about it for a long time?
I can't recall how long. I would believe maybe the cop, probably longer maybe than the other guy because, he has experience with the law and he would know how to get away things easier than just,
Fa
a normal dude
Right,
trying the
that
same
makes
thing
sense.
with no experience.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. I do have the suspicion because okay, again, you're dealing with somebody who has been stated to have no remorse. And on top of that, the only reason he's even staying on the right side of things is because of something his father said, but he still
Mhm.
has those dark urges. I
Yeah.
just feel like in real life, when people have those dark urges, they don't know how to control them very well. Well, I've seen too many cases of people not knowing how to control them very well, to where it starts off innocent enough and then it escalates, 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 and then before you know it, you have to fear this guy and you ain't even done nothing, right? It's like it's an all too common scenario, and it's like, yeah, you get some that stick to a certain moral code, and you get. I mean, there are variations in humans, so you do get people that actually stick to it. But in this case, I feel like this guy's too crazy for that. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, he's pretty calm and collected most of the time, most of the show. Okay, I recall him killing innocents before though, but it was like a last resort type thing, and this was in New
Mhm.
Blood when he's locked up, and he kills those the cop because he has
Right.
to get out of the jail, so he actually kills the cop. I'm like, oh shit! So he's killing
Yeah.
an innocent right there.
So it's like, I mean, that's the thing too. It's like, even if that's just one instance, that's like, so at any moment he could just say fuck this moral code and then go do what he
I
was
guess if
originally going to do.
I guess if he was like if he had no other option, like if he was locked up and the only way out was to break his code.
Yeah, but see, that's
Yeah,
like, that's still worrying though, because there is a condition under which he would break it. See what I'm saying?
right.
It's like,
Yeah.
so if there's, it's like a defensive wall with holes in it. Eventually, those holes are just gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger until it escalates into a genuinely dangerous person, and not just somebody who's only dangerous to the bad people. It's like, people fantasize about having a guy like this in real life, but let's be real honest here. He's not just gonna be a charming TV, only kills the bad guys type. He's gonna be a genuine danger to society, because if he has no remorse, there's the only reason he's not doing anything is because he's choosing not to, but he could very well just wake up one day. I don't know. Maybe he got cut off in traffic the previous day and now he's just like, you know what? Fuck this motherfucker.
Like that movie Unhinged with, Russell Crowe.
Exactly.
Have you seen that movie?
Exactly. I have not. I've heard of it though.
You should it's just an exact scenario. Yeah, it's
And
not that good of a movie, but yeah, it's that scenario if you wanna see that scenario play out
it's the
in a
exact.
film.
Yeah. And another thing too that would be worrying is who this guy would inspire, right? Because if he did get somewhat successful doing this, it's not just him you have to worry about. It's all the
Copycats.
stupid, obsessed, deranged fanatics that would follow after him and start probably killing innocents because fans of anything are just so just retarded.
And there was one that I recall who was a big fan of Dexter, and he, stalked this one person. I forgot if the victim was male or female. This
Hmm.
was a while back ago, and he actually made his own kill room based off the show, like, set up the same way and everything, and he lured his victim through, online, they were messaging, um, and lured him to his, garage, which was set up as a kill room, and he killed him there. I forgot the exact details, but yeah, he was a big Dexter mega fan. He's like, "Yeah, I wanna do this," but he didn't target I don't believe the target was a, criminal or anything like that. I think it was just, some, like, random person he was talking to online.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing. It's like it's like fans often, they do this weird thing where they'll take whatever interpretation of a character they want to and just fully run with it. They don't accept being wrong about it or anything like that. So I imagine that there would be some fan that justifies, the super fan. That, I mean, we already got people lusting after serial killers now. So imagine if a
Yeah.
guy was still active and not being caught immediately, there would be a fan that would justify in his mind, well, maybe if I take out this old lady was racist one time. So maybe if I just like stab her in the neck,
They'll teach these
or this.
racists a lesson.
Right. It's like, well, this person just like was speeding and he almost ran over somebody but didn't because he broke. Well, he almost killed somebody, so I should almost kill him. It's like that's the type of logic we start dipping into when whack jobs like him get famous. I mean, there's just, I mean, you see how people go, they glorify, like, people like Ed Gein and Ted Bundy and things of that nature, and those people were genuinely despicable.
Yeah, and then there's
And there are
people that are
people
like,
that,
they're like, oh, they're like, oh, this serial killer was actually very attractive, and yeah, yeah, yeah. And
yes,
they're talking about it. I'm like, what? You
it's like,
shouldn't be talking
excuse me.
positive them at all.
It's like, now I kind of, the thing is though, I can't necessarily be too mad at them because I'm also insane. So I also understand what the appeal is of having somebody who's attractive but dangerous. The problem is, though, that the way Dexter does his crimes, there'd be too many people who want to take it. There's too many people who want to take after the guy now, and he's not even fucking real. So I can only imagine. Right. But yeah. And now my final question before we move into the next character is, would his philosophy, would the basis of his philosophy hold up with the masses? Do you think that people would like his basic philosophy if it was
Yeah, definitely.
implemented for real?
Yeah. Uh,
Okay.
yeah. Like you were just saying earlier, a lot of people would be like, all over this guy if he was real and copycat him. There would be a lot of copycats if this guy was around,
Yeah.
and it would be like,
But I'm not just, I was gonna say, I'm not just talking about like whack jobs. I'm talking about like the average Joe going to work and coming
yeah,
home.
yeah. I mean, I've seen people basically agree of the most insane things. I mean, there's cults
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, the cultless thing that always.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would definitely believe people would do like or start like a cult around this guy if he was real. Be like, oh, you know
You
what?
know
Let's
what?
all make a cult around this guy. His belief of taking out criminals. Base our whole
Yeah.
belief around this guy.
He'd end up being some kind of messianic figure. And I definitely can see that happening with the average everyday Joe. Because I mean, I could, I mean, if you've heard how some blue collar workers talk after a full shift, you'd understand that there might be some crossover. But yeah, so to summarize this section, Dexter, I don't think he'd get very far in real life, but I do think that he would have a lot of fans who would try to continue his work, and that would wreak bedlam, for lack of a better term. That would wreak absolute havoc. Now, I want to escalate a little bit. So, we're going to talk about Mr. Frank Castle, who shares Dexter's philosophy of killing criminals, though he's a lot more explosion and firearm heavy in his approach, waging what he considers to be a brutal one-man war on crime. After the tragic murders of his wife and children, the scorned father and family man sought justice. A justice that couldn't be delivered by a Captain America or a Tony Stark or a Peter Parker or even a Daredevil. That's when he decided to become the Punisher, and he vowed to eradicate all crime one bullet at a time. And with his deadly marine combat skills and a no tolerance policy for anyone who preys on innocents, no matter the reason, he won't be stopped, no matter how extreme his methods may be to the aforementioned heroes. So, would this gentleman get very far?
No, absolutely not.
Instantly
Because this
no.
guy walks around publicly with a giant skull on his chest, bunch of firearms. Yeah, I know this guy would be stopped immediately.
No, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I see I see guys with skulls and firearms walking over to the skinhead
Well,
conventions all
killing
the
people.
time. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah, just walking up to somebody all casual like and blasting their head off with a shotgun. Yeah, I know.
I mean, I guess too, anywhere he is, there's like a 99% chance it's gonna explode. So maybe he would be caught eventually. You know, especially if we're, because like it would be he would like he would find like an international bandit or like a drug dealer or something, and the news would be reporting the next day that the whole compound just exploded
Not even the next day. It
and
would be
there's
the same
still
day because
wildfires going on.
it would be the same day with social media now. People would be recording this, or would be recording him. Like,
Yep.
check with this guy because he's doing it out in public. He's not like hiding his identity at all. He wants people to know that he's out there.
Right, right. And what's funny is that his main targets would actually be similar to Dexter, but he would have. I think he might actually have. He would have, at least if he played his cards right, he might have some slightly more resources to force his way into getting.
Oh yeah, he's killed the entire Marvel universe in like some like what if scenarios. You know, what if the Punisher kills the whole Marvel universe and he wipes out every single Marvel hero and villain?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, he would definitely have some resources. He would just have to get in contact with the right people who could tell him, "Hey, Frank, maybe throwing a live grenade into that crack alley is probably not the best idea." Or "Hey, Frank, maybe you shouldn't pop the head off of the Secretary of Defense for right now. Maybe we should wait until he's, you know, asleep in his jams or until he retires or something. So that way you're not instantly taken down, you know. I don't know. This is not to say I have a vendetta against any political figure, nor do I think the Punisher should be harming any political figures,
Same here.
FYI. But yeah. Now, what's interesting about this is that I actually do get behind his philosophy a little bit more, just because the Punisher actually can feel remorse and guilt, even if it's been blunted by grief and loss, you know? Like, there's a limit.
Yeah, yeah, he suffers from PTSD and also the loss of his wife and kids. And depending on which version too, like the movie version, like played
Mhm.
by Thomas Jane, he lost his whole family, his extended family, everyone during a whole like family meetup, like dinner type thing. They're all meeting up for it was a family reunion. That's what it was in the Thomas Jane Punisher film. They're all meeting up,
Mhm.
and his entire family gets wiped out. Entire
Wow.
family. Yeah. Extended family, yeah, everyone, you know,
I gotta watch
grandparents,
that
parents,
movie.
cousins. Um, yeah, Punisher Warzone, the sequel, but it doesn't have the same actor as Ray Stevenson, who passed away sadly, a couple years back. Warzone is
Mhm.
more comic accurate Punisher, and it opens up on him, he's taking out this crime family, and he spins around on a chandelier upside down, gunning them down with with
My
guns,
god.
and it's just comic book
Can you
accurate
be
Punisher.
can you be a little bit subtle, Punisher? Can you be a little bit subtle? God
And there's
damn.
this scene where these bangers are, like, doing flips and shit off these, rooftops, and he takes a fucking rocket launcher and blasts one while they're, like,
Oh
flipping midair.
my god. Oh my god. This guy would be a problem. He would be an actual there's because the problem is, like, I actually agree with him more than I would Dexter, but it's just like his methods are far more destructive. So at the end of the day, it's like, do I go
He's
with
more
Dexter?
ruthless.
Right. Do I go with Dexter's no guilt, but he can only really kill one person at a time? Or do I go with the Punisher feeling guilt and being sad, but still probably killing hundreds of people with collateral damage alone? You know, it's a tricky thing. But I do know that he would inspire some very militaristic operations, which have changed things in the past. I'm not gonna pretend they haven't, but oh boy, that would
Yeah,
be.
I've seen a lot of police officers have his skull symbol on their cars. I'm like, "No, don't act like the Punisher police. Please don't."
Because you guys actually have access to the firearms that he would mainly use. So let's not adopt that philosophy unless y'all are joining Chris Hansen to catch predators. I do think that Punisher type would be needed over there. I think that's the best play. I think making him the dedicated pedophile hunter. I feel like he'd thrive there. He would
Oh,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
He'd eat that up. You know, a bunch of people that are in the files, they just meet up to 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 talk about babies or whatever the fuck those degenerates do, and then he just bursts through the wall
Yeah,
and starts gunning.
that's gonna be the definitely the plot of, the next season of the Punisher show because I'm pretty sure they're gonna do a new one after the, success after, that special that we got.
Yes, yes. So, I mean, I don't know. The Punisher, to me, I don't think he'd inspire people who are as reckless. I just think he'd inspire a lot of gun freaks. And that's a little dangerous, but I mean, there are liberal
Off-centers.
gun freaks. There are liberal gun freaks. There are gay gun freaks. There are gun freaks who would never hurt a fly. And yeah, it would be some dangerous inspirations, but not any more dangerous than the people who are inspired by literal school shooters. Although I think those people would die if the Punisher kind of got a little bit more recognizable in real life.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
those school shooters would die.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. We can make a whole episode about why that should or shouldn't be a good idea. You know. But anywho, it's certainly been a interesting discussion so far, and I've tried very hard to not have this episode put me on some kind of national terrorist watch list, but I mean, if they put terrorist after my name, I don't know. Maybe I'll just put that in the Dapper Don the Terrorist 1012. I think that might work out. I think that, you know what, we're doing a rebranding. Anywho, it's about time for a groove break. We're halfway through. So when we come back, we're going to up the insanity a little bit with a couple more anti-heroes with a more controversial sense of justice than what we've discussed so far, to say the least. It's going to be a chaotic and thought-provoking discussion that you don't want to miss. You're watching What's Going On with Dapper Don. Stay tuned.
Glow in a filtered frame. No city home, but it don't feel the same. Smile wide, keep it in your lane. We're all good, don't say the name. In time, don't miss a beat. Everybody walking down the same street. A little glitch when they pass you by, but nobody ever asks you why. Keep it cool, keep it clean. Don't break rhythm, don't break the scene. Say the line, play the role. Keep your hands where they can't take hold. Something's bending out of sight, but we smooth it over, make it right. If it lingers, let it fade. We don't question what we made. Keep it steady, keep it clean. Nothing's ever what it seems. Laugh it off, stay between every line they've ever seen. Don't look close, don't rewind. You might see what's left behind. We're all fine, say the line. We're all fine, we're all fine. We're all fine. We're all fine. Coffee cup in a passing glance. Little pause like a second chance. Say your name like it's all the same, but it echoes just a little strange. Suit and tie or a masking grin. Don't let anybody look within. Every step just a half off beat, but it sinks if you don't think deep. Feel it crawling under skin, like a thought you can't begin. If it speaks, don't reply. Just pretend you didn't try. Keep it steady, keep it clean. Nothing's ever what it seems. Hold the frame, cut the seam. Don't let anybody intervene. Don't ask why, don't define. Everything is by design. We're all fine, say the line. We're all fine, we're all fine. We're all fine. We're all fine. Stay in place, don't deviate. Hold the shape, something slipped. No, it didn't. Something changed. No, it didn't. You saw that. No, you didn't. You felt. If it breaks, we'll rearrange. Make it fit, erase the change. Every wrong can be a line if you leave it all behind. Keep it steady, keep it clean. Nothing's ever what it seems. Smiling wide in between every fall you've never seen. Don't look back, don't remind what we buried out of mind. We're all fine, say the line. We're all fine. We're all fine.
You're tuned in to What's Going On with Dapper Don. Don't touch that dial. And we're back. For those of you just tuning in, myself and my co-host Comic have been running a little thought experiment on some popular comic book anti-heroes and trying to decide if their versions of justice would hold up in real life. Now we're going to up the stakes just a bit. So let's talk about the right-hand lady to the ace of knaves. Some call her the maid of mischief. Some call her the clown princess of crime. Some call her mommy. You know her. You love that she barely wears anything half the time. Dr. Harleen Quinzel, or as she's more commonly called, Harley Quinn. Now, this character's an interesting case because she started out as a supervillain and became an anti-hero. And while her variety of comic runs have numerous interpretations of why this happened, the most common thread seems to be her being tired of the abuse suffered at the hands of her boss and quote-unquote lover, heavy air quotes on that, the Joker, the Jonkler, Batman's arch nemesis and the man who brought her into organized crime in the first place after seducing her with his clowny charm back in Arkham Asylum when she was but a simple, mild-mannered psychiatrist. Her personality then grew to be this mix of bubbly and psychotic and a little naive, and then when she leaves Joker, it evolves into being bubbly, psychotic, and independent. Now, admittedly, you know, I'm going to say this, right? The Harley Quinn, that story arc really wasn't the most well written in my opinion, but that's another thing for another time. We're just here to talk about if they were in real life. She doesn't have any sort of moral philosophy. She's just a chaos demon. You know, all she wants to do is really tongue kiss her plant girlfriend and slam her bat into the skulls of creeps. So she's not interested in being a hero. She's bored of being a villain. So how would this jester fare in real life?
Just like the Punisher, not much. He's just like him. She's pretty public about everything.
Yeah. No subtlety whatsoever. Which, you know, I'm just gonna do the brief rant, okay? The Harley Quinn comics are not very well written. The whole story arc of that is not very well written. I'm sorry. Okay, I know
Yeah,
that
I tried to get into them multiple times. I just can't.
it's just like the show is good, but it's even then it's still flawed because it's a flawed premise. I'm sorry, but like the whole idea of her getting like there are not too many I don't know. It's like I know that there are
I
some
don't take
very
the show
unique
seriously at
personalities.
all. I just
No.
consider it as a parody of DC.
There are some very interesting personality types in the world, but there are very few women that I think would fall for somebody like the Joker, who's clearly a danger, just like on a biological level. It's like you don't know whether you're. It's like you could be talking to him, and then the next second he jumps across the table and slits your throat and starts laughing. Nobody's really into that like that. Um, and it's like it's not as if he appears normal. You know, this is a clown in an insane asylum. I don't know.
I think it
I
was
don't know.
his intellect that got to her because he is pretty smart.
He is pretty smart. I'll get that. I get that. But I don't know. I just know that I've heard people that sound like Arthur Fleck's Joker with the laughing condition, you know, at the bus stop, and nobody talks to them.
Well, that's
So
not even
that's
the
where
real
I'm
Joker.
based. You said what?
He's not even the real Joker. I mean,
No.
Joker, yeah, the follow-up movie, which I absolutely despise. I don't know why they made it into a fucking musical of all things. Todd Phillips,
They what?
why? Joker 2 made it into a musical. It made no
Is
sense
that
to
why
me.
Lady Gaga was in it?
Yeah, it was a full-blown musical, man.
Mm.
So the director of The Hangover makes a Joker, 2019 Joker, solid film. Yeah, he's not like he doesn't represent the Joker at all in that film. I mean, he doesn't have a intellect at all. He lives with his mom. I think he is. I think he's autistic, which
Great. Good
I don't think
representation for us.
like what Todd Phillips thinks autistic is. I mean, it's a director of the Hangover trilogy for crying out loud. So
I was about to say, should we really be taking his definition of anything? So was the Joker made? Okay,
but it's
Detour.
revealed in the
Was that movie
sequel
supposed?
that it's really
Yeah,
the real Joker.
yeah. I know. He's like well, the Joker was a mantle that was passed or something like that, or it was like the Joker came
That was
later,
the
inspired by.
Red Hood thing. The Red Hood mantle was something that would be passed around in the
Okay,
comics to like people in the gang.
so the Joker, the actual Joker, came along after the Fleck Joker, is what that universe is supposed to be implying.
Yeah, so in that universe, he's supposed to be like the inspiration for the real Joker. It makes no sense to me because
You,
the Joker, every other version of Joker is part of the Red Hood gang, and it's his turn to put on the Red Hood outfit, and then he comes across Batman and he accidentally falls into a vat of chemicals and he goes insane.
yeah, I don't. No, okay, so why even call the movie So was
I
the
don't know.
Joker supposed to be an art house film, or was it supposed to be a parody of art house films?
I think it was supposed to be its own self-contained thing.
It's so fucking stupid.
I mean, you got Bruce Wayne in there though, and then you have but he's like so much older than Bruce. And then there's like the brief thing of him believing that he's Thomas is Wayne's son and Bruce's like brother. I'm like, that makes no sense.
No.
I mean, they got disproven though later on in the movie, thankfully. And
I was
then
about to
you'll be
say
too
because
old
I think
by the time
the
Bruce
first movie kind
aged.
of implied it.
Yeah, but and Bruce would become Batman in that universe. That Joker would be in a fucking old folks home by that point.
The fuck is going on in that? You know what? You know what? We're detouring. We're detouring. Back to Harley. Harley, what would her, if she was real, what would her prime targets be? Because I mean, we're gonna have to just make a whole episode on that fucking abomination of a two movies. But anyway, what would Harley's prime targets be? Should she be in real life? And we already know she wouldn't get very far, but who do you think she'd be going after the most?
From everything that I've seen, just anybody who's like fucking up her day,
Mm,
just mucking up her day, her and Ivy's day. So if she's in like, like in the last most recent season they did of the TV show, it was Brainiac of all people. I'm like, Harley Quinn versus Brainiac makes no fucking sense. How is this gonna work? And it's her and Ivy living in Metropolis, and Brainiac is
Hey,
invading Metropolis. And
comic. I think I understand how her versus Brainiac works, and I'm gonna explain it so that way everybody knows because I think I just got it. Third wave feminism. Am I in the ballpark there? That's how it's gonna work. She's gonna defeat an evil man because women empowerment. God forbid they write a female hero that's actually compelling. Yeah, I just don't. And then the no philosophy thing too. There's no limits. She'll just go after anyone. It really doesn't matter. It's like she runs on Family Guy logic. You inconvenience her, and you might be liable to face any number of fates.
Yeah, you could like step on her toe by accident, like walking around her, and she would like blast you in the face.
Yeah. Some of the more compelling interpretations of her character, though, as the big bad of certain franchises, have been pretty interesting to see. But in general, the whole main Harley Quinn anti-hero arc that we get exposed to, the one where she has the dyed hair and wears the crop top and the shorts and runs around with the mallet. I don't know. It's just like there's nothing you can really do with that version story wise
I think
anymore.
the
I
best
don't think.
I think the best version of her being used as an anti-hero is in the Injustice universe. I think that's
Right.
her being the best version of her anti-hero self. Like she brands herself as a sidekick to Batman, and she's actually trying to be one of Batman's new sidekicks.
Yeah. Which I think that's been done before. It's just been done to varying levels of quality.
Yeah, the Injustice version of Harley Quinn is probably the best version of her doing the whole anti-hero gig because Joker gets his heart ripped out by Superman,
Mhm.
and so she's like, "Oh, well, shit, I had nowhere else to turn to." But Batman's against Superman, so I guess I'm gonna follow him now, like I followed the Joker, and she just devotes her entire life to Batman.
Which I've seen like comic versions of that, and it's just like, so you go from devoting your life to one crazed costume wearing maniac to another crazed costume wearing maniac? Lady, that's not feminism. That's not oh, I'm gonna this series about her finding her own identity involves her absorbing other people's identities. Yay! That's so fucking good. Thumbs up. 10 out of 10. Would read again.
Yeah, but yeah, in the Injustice universe, though, she has more mortals and her other
I
counterparts too.
yeah. Well, at the very least, the stakes are higher, so her locking in, it makes sense there. But
And she's like best friends of Dinah and Ali as well in that universe. I forgot
yeah,
how that
wouldn't
happened,
she?
but yeah. Yeah, she's like best
Yeah,
friends with them.
okay. I mean, I guess there's some good stuff, but Harley Quinn's about to put me in a bad mood. So we're just gonna go ahead and talk about Jason Todd, the person that currently wears the Red Hood mantle. And yeah, he needs no introduction. He was a former Robin, and after he got beat to shit by the Joker, he sought vengeance against the Dark Knight for a while, and then him and Bruce talked. Oh, sorry, he was beat by the Joker, then thrown into the Lazarus pit. He came out crazy, wanted revenge against Batman and the Joker, and he was eventually able to be talked down Batman style. And by talked down Batman style, I mean he got his ass whooped viciously. And then, he's not necessarily a good guy. He's not necessarily a bad guy. He just patrols the streets, and if you cause chaos, he or somebody he's connected to will take you out. And he's basically I like to call him the belt of Gotham. If Batman don't convince you, Jason Todd will. So,
Yeah, so he actually came back to life before the pit. A lot of people don't know. Just a little side thing. When Superboy Prime was around causing havoc, he was actually resurrected during that time. But then
mhm.
he died again. A lot of people don't know that. But during that time, he was trained. He was getting training briefly by I think it was Talia and someone else. I can't really recall who. It's been a
Mm.
long time since I've read that arc. But then he's put to rest again, and then Talia holds onto his corpse for like a year, and then throws him in the pit.
That's They really like throwing him in that damn pit.
Well, so like he came back to life without this pit once. When Super Prime broke into the main universe and caused havoc.
Mm.
Jason Todd was brought back to life at that point. But now it wasn't thanks to the pit, it was thanks to just Superboy Prime shenanigans fucking up with the multiverse. So Jason was brought back to life briefly, and he had to dig his way out of his coffin. And he got some
Boy.
training. Yeah. Then he perished again, and then Talia was holding onto his corpse, threw him to the pit, and then he did the whole under the red hood arc where he's sticking out Black Mask and Joker, and he's like infiltrating the gang that Black Mask formed. Um, and he's
Mm.
pretending to be a criminal. And he's like, I'm gonna steal you guys these shipments of guns from this other gang, sell them to you, and I'm gonna be your new boss. So he's like infiltrating them to take them out.
Right, right.
I think it's
I
pretty
mean,
smart.
yeah, and I know that he ends up getting some pretty like he ends up becoming like a pretty good criminal boss, like, or at least so given that and given his connections to organized crime and how he becomes basically untouchable in that world, how far do you think he's getting in real life?
Well, thanks to Batman's training, I would definitely say further than the Punisher and Harley. Thanks to his
Mhm.
intellect, maybe as far as Dexter Morgan would go in real
As far
life.
as I'm sorry. Who?
As far as Dexter would go,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
maybe.
event he yeah, it would be he'd be fine street level, but the moment he starts fucking with the government, it's over. You know, but he'd be basically untouchable street level. Like that guy would be in charge of he would own towns. Like he would own whole cities, he would have people roaming around because at the end of the day, he still had to play the part. So he would have to be basically like a Walter White type of character at that point. Especially given the fact that he goes from somebody who's relatively I mean, he was rambunctious, all the Robins were, but he was supposedly
The
under
most careless
Batman's
one.
tutelage was you said what?
He was the most careless Robin. He would just go in tights first.
Yeah.
He
I
would
mean, he
not wait
was
for Batman at
definitely
all.
careless, threw cautious to the wind. I was about to say going from somebody relatively mild-mannered, but then I was like, "Wait, no, none of the Robins are fucking mild-mannered. They would have all been dangerous to society had they not gotten under
I guess
Batman's tutelage."
I guess Tim Drake is like the most mild-mannered.
Yeah, but even then, Tim Drake would have been still a problem. Like he would have.
Dick
I
was
mean,
like Dick at like in his early stages was kind of pissed off because he lost his parents and he was working through that.
right,
Tim had his dad for a long while, but his dad was eventually killed by Captain Boomerang, if I recall. But yeah, he did have his dad for a while,
boy.
and that was like the first for like a Robin at the time, having a parent that was alive.
Mhm. Oh boy, that's yeah, that's that. But anywho, back to Jason because I got detoured because I don't know. DC tends to put me in a bad mood with some of its writing decisions. But yeah, I mean I feel like because Jason's also not. He has weaponry, but he's not super into the explosive type of weaponry. So I feel like he could go a long time without being caught unless he started fucking with government officials. Then it's over.
I mean, I've seen him
Now,
use
who
explosives in like some scenarios, like especially on in the Under the Red Hood arc. And if you've seen the animated film too, you've seen him use the I think he used a rocket launcher against like Black Mask to try to take him out.
right? But I mean, and yeah, he does. He's keen on weaponry. Don't get me wrong, but there's a distinct difference in how he does it versus Punisher. Just kind of being Punisher. Um, it's like Jason tries to at least be a little bit more targeted, but I still think there will be a fair amount of collateral damage each time he attacked. So I mean that there's still that. It just would be a little bit less because this is a Bat Kid we're talking about, but
So
not
that's in
much less.
Arkham Knight, that game. Oh my god, because he would have. And in that game, he was targeting Batman, and he's hiring all these mercs,
Hmm.
and they're using like tanks and shit. And I really hated the Batmobile sections in that game. There were so goddamn many. And we had to
Ugh.
take out all those guys in the tanks. I'm like,
Yeah. Those tank sections were so fucking annoying. Again, another detour. It's like, those were so fucking annoying. Dude, the Batmobile's aiming was so shit.
don't get me started on the Riddler trophies too with the Batmobile. The stuff he had to do to get those with the Batmobile. I'm
Ugh.
like, I ain't gonna 100% this game. Ain't no way.
No. 100%ing that game will require you to, it's a try not to smash your controller challenge. Yeah, in terms of Jason's prime targets, I just think anybody in organized crime is on the shit list. I feel like there would rarely be an instance where he'd target somebody innocent. And normally people who target people who are in organized crime tend to stay targeting people who are in organized crime because there's no shortage of them, and Jason also has a moral compass. He even had one when he was going against Batman. An eye for an eye. Now, again, and again, he's not going to run out of criminals anytime soon. So I feel like eventually he'd try to cross the border with it or something like that and would get caught up. But I feel like he would get pretty far if he like stayed contained and just like, took out local gangsters and stuff like that, like in that sort of thing. But and I guess since Jason's philosophy is kind of eye for an eye, he would probably stick to that one very closely, and he probably wouldn't deviate much. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, with Batman being his mentor, Batman usually targets and criminals. I'm trying to figure out the right thing to say here. He makes a whole like list basically of who's his targets are going to be, and he sticks to that list. He doesn't deviate from the plan at all. He's pretty smart about things. He doesn't like to deviate from his targets. Like he does prep time work like Batman.
Right. Cause see, again, it's like with Dexter, I suspect there's drift. With Punisher, there might be a little drift depending on, but like with Jason, I feel like he's one of the few cases where there's probably going to be little to no drift just because of the fact that the Bat family gets so locked in on their one singular focus. Like they are very good at becoming addicted to the one thing that they do, to the point where it's almost detrimental for them. But there wouldn't be any drift in that. Like Jason Todd would always be going after people in organized crime who prey on other people because that would become something that he basically gets borderline obsessed with. That in particular, nothing else. Literally nothing else. So I think Jason would get far if he stayed street level. But like I said, the moment he challenges somebody with some power and influence, that's where it kind of stops there. I've been kind of procrastinating this because this one's about to get interesting, but we're gonna have to go into it. We're gonna wrap this episode up with a character that tops Harley Quinn's chaos by a whole order of magnitude. The Merc with the Mouth, aka Deadpool, also known as the biggest annoyance ever, whether you're a hero or a villain, which makes him an anti-hero. Wade Wilson was your average everyday special forces operative diagnosed with terminal cancer. I know, pretty typical. In an attempt to cure his cancer, he undergoes a procedure by the Weapon X program to basically force him into becoming a constantly healing, scarred, and disfigured mutate. He then adopts the Deadpool persona originally to hunt down the man responsible, but if you're familiar with the sheer impact that Deadpool has had on culture, you know that things get far more chaotic. Pissing off Wolverine, teaming up with Spider-Man, voices in his head, killing the Marvel Universe, getting the goddamn Infinity Stones, breaking the fourth wall, and so many gory, cartoonish shenanigans that even everything I just named technically is just surface-level knowledge. It's enough to make your head spin right off. If he doesn't make it spin right off first, of course. His philosophy, like Quinn's, is just doing whatever the fuck he wants, with no strong pull in either moral direction, just kind of doing whatever he vibes with. But the interesting thing is that since he was technically like a military assassin, I want to kind of factor that into this question. How far would he get into real?
I mean, okay, so if he was real and his abilities were real, I think he would get pretty. I don't think he would be able to be stopped because he can't be killed unless there is one thing that can kill him and Wolverine, and that's that one sword. I forgot the property of it, but that can kill him and Wolverine. I forgot the name of the
Well,
sword,
right,
but
right. Let's. I think I know what sword you're talking about, and I don't. I think it's an adamantium thing. I don't know. I
it's
will
not made out
say
of
that.
adamantium. It's made of something else. I forgot the name of the property.
Oh, okay. Well, what I was gonna say is, let's just take away the healing factor. Let's just make him a normal
Okay,
guy.
normal
You
guy.
know, normal guy wearing a red costume. I still feel like he would get. Honestly, This is gonna sound controversial, but I think he'd get further than any of the picks we named above. Because see, the picks we named, the anti-heroes that we named before, weren't under anything. You know, they were kind of operating on their own. But Deadpool is a special forces assassin, meaning that he would have military training and probably have military connections to be able
Well,
to get him out of a lot of shit.
the Punisher also had military training too.
Well, yeah, he did. Yeah, but he still acted mostly on his own, which is,
Well,
you
I
know,
mean, the Max version, but Punisher was a former cop. I mean, depending on what version, but yeah, I mean, I think the Punisher actually did. Well, like he was a Marine in some versions, other versions, I think he was Special Forces. There's just so many variations. Yeah, I think it would get further than the Punisher, but not as far as someone like Jason Todd. That makes sense.
yeah. I
He's
mean,
very
because
public about it, like
that's
the
true. He
Punisher,
is very public about it.
and he makes jokes, constant jokes, and he never
Yeah.
shuts the fuck up.
No, but yeah, and that's the thing that it kind of holds him back a little bit. But I just think he would get pretty far if he kept that among the bros, so to speak. Like if he didn't just go around bragging about it. This is Deadpool we're talking about. He would just do it just to fuck with people. So, I mean, and the thing is, he's been shown to be a very competent assassin when he locks in, but that so rarely happens. I mean, the man's more likely to go and get a horse and go running through town stomping on people than he is to actually do a kill the way it's supposed to be done. And then that's not even considering that he's partially suicidal most of the time. So, um, honestly, whether he could be stopped, whether he would be stopped, whether he'd be caught, whether he'd gel with the masses, it depends on how quickly he locks in. That really is what it comes down to. But if he's just a chaos gremlin the whole time, which I suspect he might be, he wouldn't get very far. But if he decides to at least lock in once and stay locked in for a good period of time, he could get pretty far. That's my final verdict on Deadpool. But I could also be wrong there because the guy just doesn't give a shit about anything. It's very hard to get him to do that.
And if he gave a shit, I think it would be more like Agent 47 from Hitman.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Like,
would be dangerous
yeah,
if he gave a shit.
yeah. Because
But
he's bald. He doesn't have any hair, so he can put on disguises and shit. I mean, there is
yes.
his scarred, fucked up face, so there is that.
Well, he has a well, according to the Deadpool movie, he has a hair system. He has a toupee. You know, he has a lot of toupees. He has a hair system.
True. But his
So,
face
you
though
know, yeah, that face, you're not
is
that's a face only a
yeah
mother could love. And even that's debatable. Uh,
yeah his whole body is just a tumor.
yeah. Which, I mean, that might be more of a concern than anything he actually does, if I'm being honest. So he might be, if he plays the sick man card correctly, he might be able to do something with that. But yeah, let's wrap up this episode with our final thoughts. And that is there any brand of justice mentioned here that could be useful?
Mm, I don't know how to answer this the right way because I don't want to condone anything.
We're not condoning any crap. Okay, I know this episode's been like kill this guy, do this, do that. We're not condoning anything. We're not condoning anything. You watch this show, and whatever you do after you watch this show is completely on you. But like, let's just say that you were down and out, you know, and you were in these situations. Which brand of justice would you implement?
I guess I would mix like if I could mix two like the Punisher and Dexter. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't chop someone to pieces, but I would be like methodical, and I might
Hmm.
use a sidearm like a pistol or something
Right.
because I don't like the thought of having to chop off a body, chop off a body and then dump the parts in a swamp or anything like that. Yeah,
Mm.
that would disgust me. I'm not
Yeah.
up for that type thing.
No.
But
mean-
I would be as methodical about it as if I could be as Dexter, and then use a firearm or something else.
Right. You'd at least stay armed somewhat, but you wouldn't go around. You wouldn't make a whole bunch of noise. So this is gonna be a surprising pick, but Jason Todd and Deadpool is kind of a mix of who I would be. Cause if I was in that situation, I'm gonna be honest, I would stop caring about a whole bunch. And the only thing that would keep me on some guiding path is, let me focus this on the criminals and not on the people just getting off work and going home and eating like cold chicken or whatever. So it will be a mix of Jason Todd and Deadpool, just kind of restrained in public, but in private with the real bad guys, I'm turning that shit into a playground. I probably wouldn't get very far though. But yeah, it was great having you on once again, Comic.
Yeah, it was nice being
And
here. I'm glad I was able to do this today.
absolutely. And I think this was a very interesting episode, but that is all for today's show. So if you like this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. Mine and Comic socials will be linked in the description as usual, as well as who helped put this episode together. Follow us everywhere so you don't miss a beat, and tune in next Sunday at 6:30 p.m. for an all new What's Going On with Dapper Don. You don't want to miss what I have in store. Peace out.